on behalf of the Progressive Religious Coalition, it is with great honor and privilege to welcome you to the 9th Annual Interfaith Celebration. We want to acknowledge and express appreciation to the Reid Memorial Presbyterian Church family for providing the venue for this interfaith celebration. We, the Progressive Religious Coalition, are people of world faith embracing justice in Augusta. We believe that this is what our interfaith community stands for, to be a catalyst to frame social justice issues in a moral and spiritual context, and to realize progressive values in our community. The Progressive Religious Coalition advocates the right to embrace freedom in that all people should have freedom from undue interference by government actions, economic and business practices, educational and religious institutions, and all others in carrying out their private affairs and personal needs. This includes our right to freedom of speech, association, and religion. This includes opportunity which prohibits discrimination against anyone based on race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, religious faith or non-faith, or disability. We also embrace the diversity of our society by ensuring that all people have the chance to turn their talents and ambition into a meaningful life experience. We affirm these values: love, justice, creativity, kindness, respect, charity, and rational thought. These values inform our belief that all people have equal worth and dignity. And upon these principles, we welcome you. We affirm and we assure that this celebration is of life and dreams and honor of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We in the Progressive Religious Coalition have designated this service intentionally for fellowship among many people and faith traditions. We ask that you do two things. One, witness to the truth of your own faith. And two, listen with respect, neither giving nor taking offense to the truths to which our neighbors witness. We, the Progressive Religious Coalition, draw from distinctive and authentic voices of their faith tradition, rather than pretend that there is no differences or discounts of our diversity. And yet, we seek to worship together alongside each other, with participants seeking by whatever name we may call as we know to be God. Through whatever religious traditions we embrace, it is with the spirit of Dr. King we celebrate faith that builds bridges and not walls. This service offers us the opportunity to pray, to hear our neighbors pray, and to pray for each other and our community together. We are not seeking instant agreement to the common religiosity, but a deepening understanding of each other's faith practice. May we hear again tonight Dr. King's call to confront hatred, to love peace, and to commit ourselves to the task of justice for all. And I leave you with these words, penned by the great theologian and philosopher, scholar, and civil rights activist Howard Thurman. Keep alive the dream, for as long as a man or woman has a dream in his or her heart, he or she cannot lose the significance of living. Thank you.
Grace and peace to you. My name is Reid, and as pastor of this congregation, I welcome you this evening on behalf of the session and congregation of Reid Memorial Presbyterian Church. We are honored to serve as the hosts for this 9th annual Interfaith service of celebration. To get the essentials out of the way, I would encourage you to silence your cell phones if you have not already done so. And also, bathrooms for men and women are easily found to the door to my left, to your right, at the front of the sanctuary. And I do hope that you will join the fellowship hall for reception following the service tonight. Reid Memorial Presbyterian Church is grateful to host this gathering and celebration this evening, not because we who gather here agree on every point of faith and doctrine, not because this congregation itself is a member of the Progressive Religious Coalition of Augusta. No, we are grateful to host this gathering and celebration because it is a unique opportunity in this community for all of us to be inspired, despite our differences, to bring down the barriers which divide us as we seek together the common good. Those of you with history in Augusta might recall that this congregation was once nicknamed Ike's Church because President Dwight D. Eisenhower would worship here during his frequent visits to Augusta, both during and after his presidency. In Eisenhower's farewell address to the nation, delivered almost exactly 55 years ago on January 17th of 1961, he concluded with these words: "We pray that peoples of all faiths, all races, all nations may have their great human needs satisfied, that those now denied opportunities shall come to enjoy it to the full, that all who yearn for freedom may experience its spiritual blessings, that those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibilities, that all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, that the scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made to disappear from the earth, and that in the goodness of time all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love." It is in that spirit that we gather tonight. We give thanks to God for each step we take together on this journey. Once again, welcome, and God bless you.
Would you join me in prayer? Creator of all, we know you by many names, and we come from a variety of spiritual backgrounds and faith traditions. We come to you as a diverse people, created in your divine and holy image, giving thanks and praise for who we are and the contributions we have made to the diversity of life. We give you thanks for the life of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the rich legacy of love and justice he left for us to emulate. As we gather together this evening, renew in us an impatience with just injustices of every kind, while forging a way for those who are misled by it. Help us move toward dismantling injustice right here in the CSRA, and may our firm pursuit of justice sustain us and keep us strong in the struggle to create a more humane world. May we never forget that whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Help us remember that Dr. King and his message of love, justice, nonviolence, and equality still matters. And as Dr. King wrote so beautifully, in these days of emotional tension, when the problems of the world are gigantic in extent and chaotic in detail, give us penetrating visions, broad understanding, and power of endurance and abiding faith, and save us from the paralysis of crippling fears. May our worship this evening birth in us a longing to be a community where all people are not only created equal, but where we actually live as equals. Bless this time of worship and bless all of us who have gathered here this evening to honor the life of Dr. King. In the many names in which I know you. Amen.
Quotation from Have not our eyes filled with tears over the misuse of religion to breed distrust and ignite prejudice, creating walls and drawing lines between peoples of diverse cultures and traditions?
Our Lord Jesus transcend our race, our tribe, our class, and our nation. This means we must develop a moral perspective.
Is there any sorrow like the sorrow poured upon us when we invoke religion to condone the cruelty of potentates and declare your wars just?
Our ultimate allegiance is not to the government, not to the state, not to the nation, not to any man-made institution. We have guided missiles and misguided commanders.
Have we not heard the taunts when we misuse religion to thwart scientific inquiry, to bolster prejudice and ignorance?
Science deals mainly with facts, religion mainly with values. The two are not rivals, they are complementary.
Do we not find our souls in anguish over schisms, rancorous splits, and feuds that threaten our witness to disagree without being disagreeable?
We must learn to live as brothers and sisters, or perish as fools.
When we agree so deeply, as when religions fail to protect the children in our care, where edicts of indifference, disregard of moral discipline, and evasions of law attempt to cover up or condone abuse.
Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter.
Where has outrage cried out to life as those places where religious discriminate against women and girls, restricting their access to education and ability to make responsible choices about their lives, families, citizenship, reproductive health, vocation, and faith.
All forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare, social shopping, and inhumane. Women extol the nations to be saved. I believe in must become the soul.
I still hear people say that I should not be talking about the rights of lesbian and gay people, that I should stick to the issues of racial injustice. But I hasten to remind them that Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere."
Have we not ached with helplessness and rage when gun violence and mass shootings, suicide bombings and ghastly executions, tribal annihilations, and terrorist slayings aim to trivialize the sanctity of life, the bonds of family, and the meanings of community?
I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love.
Let our lamentations confirm our common humanity, sanctify the holiness worship says at this point that I am to introduce our homilist or keynote speaker tonight. Reality is, though, many of you may not know this, I'm actually reintroducing our speaker to many of you. Some of us met the Reverend Veronica Goines years ago in the writings of best-selling author Anne Lamott. Long before we started seeing Reverend Goines in listings of who's who in preaching circles, reading her sermons, talks, poems, and different dresses, we read about her convicting and creative pastoring in the church Lamott has been a member of. Lamott dedicates her best-selling book, Traveling Mercies, Some Thoughts on Faith, to Goines St. Andrew Presbyterian Church in Reid City, California, and to Reverend Goines herself. Reverend Goines has had that church for over 20 years. In prefacing words from another Lamott effort, Plan B, Further Thoughts on Faith, Lamott evocatively writes, "And I would not be here were it not for the love, support, and wisdom of the people of St. Andrew Presbyterian Church in Reid City, California, and the Reverend Mrs. Veronica Goines. Their deep faith and love of God and life have changed my world forever. They taught me by their witness that no matter how hard life seems at times, we can still, in the words of Warren Zevon, enjoy every sandwich and give thanks." Many of us are here tonight. We can relate that stirring homage to a worship community and its worship leader. We have been nurtured, affirmed, loved, and perhaps even saved by these same influences. Reverend Goines, in the book More Power in the Pulpit, How America's Most Effective Black Preachers Prepare Their Sermons, states that preaching is most powerful when it's both therapeutic and redemptive. Prepare yourself tonight for equal parts therapy and redemption. In a former life, Reverend Goines had a career in graphic design and illustration. She earned her master's divinity degree and diploma in pastoral counseling from the San Francisco Theological Seminary. She's currently finishing her PhD at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley. Her research centers on a womanist perspective on voice as a metaphor for power. It gives me great pleasure and honor to introduce, or perhaps reintroduce, the Reverend Veronica Goines.
Good evening. It is good to be with you this evening. I was sharing earlier today that this is my very first time in Augusta, Georgia. While I've been to Atlanta several times over the years, I have never been here. And so I'm so thankful for the invitation. I shared on last Sunday with my congregation what I was going to be up to this week. And they said several things. One was, "Will you please bring us a copy of the tape?" So I said, well, I will see if there is going to be a tape. And another thing was, I said, you know, I believe I am the first woman to preach this celebration and this worship gathering that you've been doing in this 9th year. But no pressure. And they just said, we're praying for you. And we know that you will bring what you give to us every Sunday. So all day I've been getting texts from members saying, we're praying for you, we're thinking about you. And I want to just send greetings from Reid City, California, just across the bridge from San Francisco. As a child, I was frequented by a recurring nightmare. In it, Frankenstein would lumber from the shadowy curtains of my bedroom closet. And if that wasn't bad enough, to see his green face and his neck protruding with bolts and the scars and just the scariness of that entire experience, Frankenstein would just come toward me with his hands outstretched. And after once or twice, I knew what to expect because he would then begin to taunt me and tickle me into a hysterical
right. Now, tickling might not sound all that scary to you, but this was probably, to that point, the scariest dream I had ever had. It was truly a nightmare, and it got to the point that I was afraid to go to sleep at night. And if I did get to sleep, I kind of slept with one eye open. And it was the time in my life where I learned to sleep with my whole body covered up, and the only parts that were out were my nose and one eye, so that I could see in case he showed up. But I want to tell you that there came a time one night while in my sleep, in the middle of a dream, in fact, in the middle of the same nightmare, it occurred to me, hey, this is my dream. Has that ever occurred to you? The thought was, this is my dream, and I have a say in how it comes out. I don't know if you have had that experience where in your sleep you realize that you have some say-so over the way things turn out. Like those times when I have those dreams where I'm paralyzed and I can't quite move, and then it occurs to me, you're just dreaming, and I can pick up my feet. So this happened to me, and so the next night, when Frankenstein showed up, I wasn't hiding under the covers. I leaned into the darkness and I said, "Hi, Frankenstein, I've been waiting for you." I wonder sometimes, after 27 years of pastoral ministry, after close to, 30, 40 Martin Luther King celebrations that I have attended, some of them in the form of bake sales, sometimes talent shows, sometimes just ceremonies and awards assemblies and essay contests and community cleanups, but sometimes I wonder if we are basking in the halo of Dr. King's dream, or whether we are crouching in the shadows of a nightmare. I wonder right now if we are fearlessly confronting the darkness, or if we might be crouching underneath the covers. This evening we are preaching on the subject, getting to luminous darkness. And I want to begin by defining darkness as the absence of light, not to be confused with blackness, which is the presence of all color. Let us pray. Oh Lord, we're waiting on you. Oh Lord, we're waiting on you. Oh Lord, we're waiting on you, and we can't do nothing till you come. I say we're down here praying, we're waiting on you. Down here praying, we're waiting on you. Down here praying, Lord, we're waiting on you, and we can't do nothing till you come. Psalm 139. This is a psalm that is shared by several of our traditions, those represented here in the room this evening. And I invite us to listen for the words of the psalmist to each of us. O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know my down sitting and my uprising. You know my thoughts from afar. You comprehend my path and my lying down, and are acquainted with all my ways. on my tongue, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hedged me behind and before and have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high and I cannot attain it. Oh, where shall I go from your spirit, and where shall I flee from your presence? For if I ascend into the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, you are there. And if I take the wings of the morning and settle on the far side of the sea, there your hand will lead me, and your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, even the night will be light about me. Indeed, the darkness shall not hide from you, but the darkness shall be as day, for the day and night are alike to you. For you framed me. You formed my inward being. You knitted me together in my mother's womb, and I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and marvelous are your works, that my soul knows very well. For I was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. For your eyes saw my substance being yet unformed, and in your book they all were written, those days fashioned for me, when as yet there were none of them. How vast are your thoughts to me, O God. How vast is the sum of them. If I were to count them, they would outnumber the sand. And when I awake on the other side of this life, when I awake, I am still with you. Oh, search me and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts. And lead me in the way of righteousness for your name's sake. Amen. In the prologue to his book, Luminous Darkness, Howard Thurman's commentary on the impact of racism and segregation on the human spirit, soul, that was first published in 1965, Thurman uses the metaphor or analogy of the journey of a scuba diver, a deep sea diver, as the metaphor for his commentary. He writes, on the way to the ocean's floor, the diver passes through the belt of fishes. This is a bright band of water penetrated by light from the surface. But this soon passes. And the diver plunges further into the sea where it is dark, eerie, and foreboding. The diver is gripped by a sudden spasm of panic, and the first impulse is to bolt back up to the surface. But he writes that the more experienced diver continues her descent into the sea. She begins to, as she continues, she is waiting for her eyes to pick up the luminous quality of the darkness. And she continues her journey from there with confidence and peculiar vision, getting to luminous darkness. The journey of both the deep sea diver and the psalmist unfold through diametric tensions, down and up, ascent and descent, through binaries of light and dark, and day and night, and obscurity and clarity, and moods of presence and absence and anxiety and confidence. Like the deep sea diver, the psalmist likewise plumbs the darkness to discover divine light. Such was the juxtapositioning of diametric tensions and binaries and moods and tensions when Howard Thurman wrote his book, Luminous Darkness. This was a dark time in our nation's history. It was a time when the bodies of black men, women, and their children hung from the trees of the South like strange fruit. It was a time when Bible-toting Christians, presumably salt and light, participated in racist violence. It was the Jim Crow empire. Indeed, it was dark. Yet for Thurman and others, this darkness, this absence imagine that. This luminous quality actually began not during his time, but it began long ago in the history of Black people here in America, because it was during the time of the invisible institution, which was the first expression of the Black church. It was during the time of the era of slavery, when African American men and women learned to gather with their children. They learned to secret themselves off into the hush harbors and into places where they were able to gather in collective prayer, where they called out to God and they sought God for light in the middle of a very dark time. This is where they learned to develop the ability to see in the dark. Long before Amtrak train and its well-lit system came into being, the Underground Railroad came about, and these folk learned to get on board. Sometimes they sang songs, beautiful songs, even like the one that was sung earlier by the choir here. They sang songs with coded messages, songs like "Steal Away to Jesus," which was code for, we have a meeting tonight, let's get together and let's pray because we are making ready for freedom. To procure one's freedom meant that you had to enter the darkness. I wonder how many of us tonight, like myself, as I shared my earlier story, how many of us suffer from fear of the dark? It's a very real fear. And either as a child or as a parent of a child, we have probably had the experience of either self-soothing and comforting, or being comforted by someone else, or comforting our own children. This is what the psalmist meant, though, this kind of movement into the darkness with the expectation of finding in the midst of the darkness the light of God. This is what the psalmist meant when he said, "Lord, you know my down sitting and my uprising." It's not just a recounting of how many times we sit or stand in a day. It is about down sitting that has to do with that descent into prayer, that has to do with drawing near to God, going to God with an intention of finding God, no matter what it looks like. Sometimes we are experiencing tremendous loss and grief, and some of us send our children off to school in neighborhoods, at least where I live, where they have to enter by way of metal detectors. Sometimes they are in gated schools now because it is not a safe place to be. It is to say that every day we live with the tensions and what it means to have to go to God in prayer on behalf of the safety and even the freedom, the liberation of others. The down sitting that the writer talks about has to do with, Lord, you know the times when I descend, when I draw close to you, and I'm looking for divine wisdom. When I am discerning a matter, you know when I sit and strategically plan a move. When in quiet contemplation, I'm listening for you. This listening may come about in different forms, and I'm sure it does because we are all coming from so many diverse religions and expressions of our faith. But in every faith, there is some form of prayer of connection. There is some time in which we draw together. Getting to luminous darkness is a work of discernment. It is counterintuitive because it compels us to go deeper when we'd rather bolt back up to the top. It is something that calls us to decide whether we're going to seek the surface light or if we're going to go deeper to find divine light. To persevere, whether we are going to persevere or quit, whether we will wait or we will go forward. This down sitting, this time of critical collective discernment reveals not only what it is that we are searching for, but often things are illumined that we would never expect. We find them there in the depths, like treasures and like pearls. We look for and we find new vision. I have been told that the Progressive Religious Coalition, some some 9 years ago, began a vision, began to look for a way to bring everyone together under one roof, not simply for a celebration, but a worship, where we as people of God, we as folks who are those who believe and look to God, that we come together and that we pray in such a way that we begin to see a change happening. Someone says it's not really what we're looking at, but it's what we're looking with. And when we somehow get that peculiar vision, the very things that we look at begin to change. So in the civil rights movement, the people of the movement were fortified by prayer. They were willing to go there with God and with one another. And like the diver, they descended into the depth. They passed that band of water called the belt of fishes. They went past the surface light. They went into the depth of that experience. And in that depth, in that murky and unjust water, they endured intense spasms of panic to push their way through deep darkness and violent resistance to get to luminous darkness, divine light. But now, I look around and I wonder, how far have we come? How far have we come? Have we overcome those very objectives that we were trying to, or achieve the objectives that we were trying to achieve 50, 60 years ago? Now we don't look for our people hanging in the trees because they are falling like strange fruit in our streets. They are felled by the bullets of police officers who are not held accountable. There is no legal accountability. There is no justice. And so we want to affirm with the psalmist, not only am I fearfully and wonderfully made, but each of you is fearfully and wonderfully made. We are all fearfully and wonderfully made by God. But what we have to do is to yell out, but Black Lives Matter. We have to say that. And it's a sad day that we have to qualify that. It's dark. There's a lot of darkness that is still going on around us because we have to make that kind of distinction. Once in the glimmer of this luminous darkness, we realized unprecedented support for the civil rights movement, the passage of the Civil Rights Bills of 1964 and 5, and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, along with the executive order demanding affirmative action. But now, affirmative action has gone by the wayside. The Civil Rights Commission has been devastated, the public education system denuded, and our public schools vie for dollars and resources that are now being channeled into charter schools. In our community where I live, we have been dealing with white flight for about the last 3 or 4 decades. And it is sad because it feels as though we have stepped back in time. So support systems for the poor are cut, and billions of dollars taken from babies to support or to reduce the tax liabilities of the wealthy. We haven't gotten to luminous darkness. A recent study from the Huffington Post reported that if the financial wealth of the average family in the United States, and the bottom 80% of families, according to income, was represented by a bar 1 inch high, that it would require a bar 33 feet high to represent a comparison to the financial wealth of the average family in the top 1%. We haven't gotten to the luminous part of the darkness. The same study reports that the continuing wage disparities between men and women compared to African American, Latino women and men, and African American women and men, is 69% and 58% respectively compared to their men. The disparity increases when we compare it to white men. So have we gotten to luminous luminous darkness just yet. And then I wonder when I think about the fact that one of our Superior Court judges could say that racism was a thing of the past, when it has only changed forms and has developed new targets now. Our brothers and sisters from the Middle East are clumped together, irrespective of their various countries, and everyone is labeled a Muslim, even if they're not a Muslim, and we don't understand what we see, and so we provide these labels that objectify and that abstract so that we can easily write off, because that's what we do when we're afraid if we can't stamp it out. We find a way to categorize it so that we don't have to deal with it. We haven't gotten to luminous darkness. When we have a presidential, at least, a primary candidate who would advocate for the erecting of an insurmountable wall between the United States and Mexico, haven't we gotten beyond the walls yet? When we have a person who is actually running and people are listening, don't be offended if you're in the room and you're a supporter. This is not only an interfaith gathering. We understand we all have different ideologies and different partisanship, perhaps, but it is to say that to take advantage of a culture that has already been living in the shadows of fear and scarcity, it further cultivates these attitudes and these perspectives. It's beginning to harken back to World War II, and it kind of reeks of the philosophy or the thinking that led to the concentration camps during that time. It reminds me, when we begin to talk about not allowing Arabs or not allowing Muslims into our country, it reminds me of the culture that was necessary to support Hitler in his rise to power. It was a rise to power that came about because good people, religious people, even the leaders said nothing and watched it come about. Not only do we need to be yelling Black Lives Matter, we need to be out there yelling every life matters. And there is no scarcity here. It's like everyone wants to pull their can out. They get all they can get. They put it in the can. They put a lid on it. And they sit down and they say, I dare you to take anything out of here. This is mine. It is one of the critiques of Clarence Thomas is simply the fact that he benefited from so many of the strides of the civil rights movement, but would turn around and say, these things are no longer relevant. In a Sufi parable, Mullah Nasruddin was outside on his hands and knees in his front yard under a lantern, just searching frantically. A friend came up to him and the friend said to him, Mullah, what are you doing? And Mullah said, I lost my key and I can't find it. So his friend got down on his knees and he began to search with Mullah. They were searching with all they were worth, and they searched and they weren't finding the key. And so finally the friend said to Mullah, Mullah, exactly where did you lose the key? And Mullah said, I lost it in the house, but there's more light out here. So sometimes I'm wondering if we are looking for the key by being in the wrong place, if we're looking in the wrong place. I wonder if it's outside, if it's inside, in those dark corners, and we're outside where it's light and it feels a little bit better. I wonder if we are hiding in the wrong places. Have we somehow sacrificed public witness for a privatized faith? There's a whole lot of privatized faith going on right now. I wonder if we have sacrificed a corporate spirituality for individual spirituality that makes us feel good, but it somehow doesn't always have a bearing on the way in which others live. I just wonder about that today. And I might be the only one, but you can say amen if you're with me. I wonder about that. Have we settled for easy fixes rather than going deep? And I wonder if we go for good ideas rather And I know because I spent my vacation over the Christmas holiday cleaning out junk drawers. I was afraid to go there. And let me tell you something, as big as my junk drawer is, it looked like the stuff I took out of it could have filled 3 trunks. I don't know how that happens. And I want you to know I've been praying about that drawer for a long time, and I wasn't ready to go near it. But I'm so glad I did. Our fear of the dark keeps us from confronting things that matter. They are the keys that we have lost, that we have left by the side of the way. They are the things that remind us of what really and truly matters. Fear. Peter Steinke wrote about fear, and he says that it's a wake-up call for us and how it operates in our body and how neuroscience has proven that it links fear to the amygdala, the lower primitive brain, and how it works. And so with this, it has a strength of processing very rapidly. This is what fear does. You know how it works inside of you, and I know how it works inside of me. When I'm afraid of something, it's processing very quickly. But the problem is that when it does that, it lacks precision. And so when we begin to get afraid, and when we have others who have a public voice that tell us we need to fear each other instead of loving and respecting each other, we need to somehow avoid each other rather than coming together to dialogue to get to know each other. Then what happens is our brain is just going, it's processing so quickly. But with the extreme fear, noradrenaline begins to flood the brain and to rivet our attention on the object of fear. So we become so fixated on the fear that we lose sight of the bigger vision. That fear takes over, it overwhelms our imagination, our capacities, and our advanced reasoning. And the fearful one becomes locked into the present and loses the ability to envision something other than what is now threatening. Reality is pruned to the senses, to the synapses mediating fear, to the paralyzing moment. Dr. King said that what we need for such a journey as this is hope. As I met with some of your religious leaders this morning, I heard that hope. I heard that wrestling. I heard that, that there was a vision that it could be even more inclusive, that it could be even bigger than what it is, although this is wonderful. What a good turnout. But who's missing from the table? That's the question I heard. And so you have this vision, and until we see it fully brought about, that we need a resolution to go forward, despite the fear and obstacles and the frightening situations. Because getting to luminous darkness necessitates a willingness to descend to the depths, to go down places we didn't want to go, in order to uncover, to discover, to get underneath the difficult, perplexing, and mystifying contribution or questions and contradictions of our time. I think one of the most profound stories that I heard of descending and ascending was a story about Dr. King. And it is told and reflected in the book Martin, Malcolm, and America by theologian James Cone, who talks about Dr. King early in the movement. It's kind of interesting because it was for him the moment of his conversion. And it's something he was already out front leading the movement. But God called him aside because he got home in January 27, 1956, several weeks into the bus boycott. When he got home, he got a phone call. And even though he received some 40 threats a day, somehow this one shook him up. It shook him to his core. And the threat basically said, we're going to blow you up in your house if you're not out of town in 3 days. He had a brand new baby girl and a wife. And because he was so afraid for them, he couldn't get settled. He couldn't go to sleep. And he says that he made his way to the kitchen table, thought maybe a cup of coffee would help. How many of you have gone for a cup of coffee when you couldn't get to sleep? can't figure it out, you can't work it through. So he did that. He made his way to the table, and he said he searched everything he knew, every rationality and thinking that he could come up with. He thought about all the things he learned in the seminaries and universities, and he couldn't find an answer to account for the existence of evil. He couldn't find a theological or philosophical reason for it. And so he said that something spoke to him and said to him, he says, something said to me, you can't call on Daddy now. He's in Atlanta, 175 miles away. You've got to call on that power that your daddy told you about a long time ago. And so he said he discovered that religion had to become real for him. He was in the dark and he was plummeting even deeper, but in the darkness he found the luminous light. And in that moment, Dr. King found peculiar vision, so that he could surface, and he surfaced with a resolve and a power that led him through the remainder of his days in the movement. King recounts, almost out of nowhere, I heard a voice, he said, Martin Luther, stand up for righteousness, stand up for justice, stand up for truth, and lo, I will be with you always, even to the end. This is what the psalmist meant when he talked about our uprisings. And this is why I'm saying how important it is that you are doing what you're doing. And perhaps my words, I'm just preaching to the choir, because you are striving to do exactly what it is that I'm referring to tonight. But I know that some of us are still reluctant to go into the dark places. We're reluctant to go where we're afraid to go. So this psalmist says that, there's a payoff for going there, because the payoff is, as the psalmist says, Lord, you know my down sitting and my uprising. You know those times when you have fixed it so that I could stand. You have made me resilient. You have somehow empowered me, and you have given me strength and clarity to persevere. That's what he's saying. And when we gather together, we come together, and we receive that kind of clarity. Therefore, our darkness can become for us a critical turning point, so that we, like Dr. King, because he does still matter, where we, like Dr. King, even in our agonizing despair, in our dissent, find the light and the insight that we need to rise up with new resolve. But I want to end by saying there is another light. There is another light. In our tradition, in the Christian Bible, the gospel, Jesus says, you are the light of the world. And I want to tell you, he wasn't talking to the church. The church didn't even exist at that point. Jesus was talking to people of righteousness. Jesus was talking to people who embraced the love of God. And he was saying that not only was he saying you are light, he wasn't saying you're going to get to be light, you're going to become light. He said you already are light. It's a realized kind of faith. It is something that says you already are. It's a performative word that says that by the very mention of it, it is already done. And so we're not only seeking luminous darkness, we take our light into the luminous darkness. But we take with us our questions, and we take with us our perplexities and our anxieties with the trust that God is there and will provide what it is that we need. We are light seeking light, and we are in a relationship with God. We are led by the memories and by the examples of those who came before us, who marched together arm in arm for the sake of freedom. And while it began as a march for Black people, it became a march for all people. It became a march that had to do with liberation around the justice issues that somehow continue to separate us. So, as we leave here this evening, my prayer is that we will go armed with light, being the light, expecting God to send light. No matter what our darkness. Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Keep going. Because it means that we haven't yet gotten to our destination. Just keep going and know that something else will on the other side. Something else awaits us in the deep. Keep going. Keep going. The nightmare that I shared with you, the night that I woke up or that I realized in the midst of my dream that I had something to do with how the dream came out. The night that I greeted Frankenstein in the dark and said, I've been waiting for you. That was the night. That was the night that I took away his power over me. Until we get to the point where the darkness does not control us, the fear, then we will never know the confidence that we need to go forward. I want to tell you that it was such a liberating thing for me, but I continue, even at this point and stage in my life, to have to be reminded again and again and again. Lean into the darkness. Delve into the darkness. Know that God's light awaits me. That's what I say to myself. Trust it. Because God will give you exactly what you need. Even if Dr. King's dream has become a nightmare, those of us who claim to shoulder his dream, the outcome is in our hands. We have say in the outcome. God bless you.
we bless ourselves and each other by this gathering tonight. I don't know about you, but this is feeding my soul. I hope it is so for each and every one. In the 9 years of this interfaith service, honoring the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as guests of various houses of worship such as Tabernacle Baptist Church, Congregation Children of Israel, First Baptist Church of Augusta, Payne College, and twice now, due to their generosity, Reid Memorial Presbyterian Church, we have asked those present to contribute to our offering. Out of those proceeds every year, the PRC has donated to local charitable organizations, including Child Enrichment Incorporated, Hale House, and St. Stephen's Ministry. I have the honor this evening of sharing with you some information about the two organizations that will be this year's recipients, Mercy Ministries and the Mock Institute. Mercy Ministries is a non-denominational but faith-based organization, and its mission is to use the power of mercy and kindness to reach our community for God. Mercy Ministries was founded in 2002 by Fran and Jerry Oliver and has grown from the setting of a church basement to facilities that include a drop-in day center and housing at Mercy Manor. It operates a thrift store and warehouse on Broad Street, and its staff are unpaid. They and other volunteers serve thousands, tens of thousands of meals each month and provide fresh fruit, vegetables, and bread to over 2,000 individuals and families every month during its twice-a-week food drive. Mercy Ministries appreciates the support given by the Augusta community, and it welcomes those interested in volunteer opportunities to visit their website, www.augustahomeless.org. Present with us from Mercy Ministries this evening, I believe, are Fran Oliver, Susan Raybon, Annette Drowlett, and Lorraine Barlow. Please stand and let us see you and acknowledge you. Our second recipient, Mock Academy Incorporated, was established in 1992 as a community organization promoting healthy bodies and healthy minds through year-round camps and classes at the Fleming Tennis Center and other locations throughout the CSRA. The goals of the Mock Academy include providing recreational and educational opportunities and life skills development for participants aged 3 through 18. The vision of the Academy is to inspire participants to become academic achievers, champion athletes, and responsible citizens. Its focus demographics are inner-city, disadvantaged youth, and low and moderate income families. The Academy is inclusive of all individuals and families, regardless of age, gender, race, disability, or financial income. The use of tennis and academic support as tools to promote character and successful adult lives is inspired by the late Arthur Ashe's vision to develop young people in body, mind, and spirit. And here with us this evening from Mock Academy is the Executive Director, Betty Jones. Betty, please stand. The Dalai Lama says that generosity is the most natural outward expression of an inner attitude of compassion and loving kindness. And those who have attended the PRC's Interfaith services these past 9 years have witnessed acts of compassion and loving kindness between diverse faith communities gathered to worship together. And so this evening, we generously dedicate our gifts to building honest, caring relationships across all lines of difference, growing in spirit and searching for meaning together and apart, promoting religious freedom, practicing compassion, and working for justice. So may these gifts and the work of our hands and hearts give power to all we stand for as a united community of faith. The offering will now be generously offered and gratefully received. I invite you now to prepare for the ushers who will receive your contribution. And if you are writing a check, please make it out to PRC Augusta and write on the foreline, MLK 2016. Thank you for your generosity.
Don't they make us proud? Tonight, I'm delighted to come to be a participant, but most importantly, to be a part of the Interfaith celebration. I come to bring greetings on behalf of the city of Augusta, but I feel compelled to say that I bring more than that. And that is a rich desire to continue the tradition, the legacy, the dream of the late Dr. Martin Luther King. As many of you have heard me talk about One Augusta, tonight I look out into the audience after having heard words of Reverend Goines and having looked and watched the mood, tone, the tenor, the songs, the instrumentalists, and I am reminded that we too can be one people, embodying love, affection, appreciation, our trust, and our respect for one another as we continue the journey together and not separately. Thank you so much for inviting us to be a part of these events. And I too am honored to have heard the words of Reverend Goines as we celebrate the life and legacy of one Dr. Martin Luther King, because it does still matter. Thank you so much. Amen.
We'd like to acknowledge some guests struck by the words of the anthem, "No more stranger or guest, like a child at home." We are among friends here tonight. So we give thanks for the presence of Marshal Steve Smith, representing the Richmond County Marshal's Office. If you would stand, please, let us acknowledge you. We cannot forget the work and ministry and offering of Augusta University. I think that's what we're calling it. From the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, has been a friend of the PRC and supporter of our work. He was not able to be with us this evening because of a prior commitment, but we thank him and his department for their assistance in this project. And we also want to recognize the president of the NAACP Augusta, Mila Tichy, is among us this night. She would stand. Are there other greetings from the community we should hear this night? There will be time of reception. Thank you.
A brief but heartfelt re-invitation to a reception to follow. Either of these side doors will get you the fellowship hall, a chance to meet participants of today's tonight's service, and our giftees for our collection. I hope you join us in fellowship.
For those who are agents of blessing, please come forward at this time.
Oh my God, verily I invoke thee and supplicate before thy threshold, asking thee that all thy mercies may descend upon these souls. Specialize them for thy favor and thy truth. O Lord, unite and bind together the hearts, join in accord all the souls, and exhilarate the spirits through the signs of thy sanctity and oneness. O Lord, make these faces radiant through through the light of thy oneness, strengthen the loins of thy servants in the service of thy kingdom. O Lord, thou possessor of infinite mercy, O Lord of forgiveness and pardon, forgive our sins, pardon our shortcomings, and cause us to turn to the kingdom of thy clemency, invoking the kingdom of might and power, humble at thy shrine and submissive before the glory of thy witnesses. O Lord God, make us as waves of the sea, as flowers of the garden, united, agreed through the bounties of thy love. O Lord, dilate the breast through the signs of thy oneness, and make all mankind as stars shining from the same height of glory, as perfect fruits growing from thy tree of life. Verily thou art the Almighty, the self-subsistent, the giver, the forgiver, the pardoner, the omniscient.
Dr. Isaac Ikeda, poet laureate and president of SG Young Faith, reveals in his commentary, opening a new era comes together, that music is resounding of hope and compassion. Dr. Ikeda also emphasizes that foremost, the spirit of culture is the wish to bring happiness to all. Therefore, when we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo as the music and philosophy of the Lotus Sutra, the highest teachings in Buddhism, suffering and hardships as innumerable as countless dust particles are transformed into wisdom. Through chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, we can continue to advance cheerfully and courageously, undefeated by anything. We can perform a drama of invincible strength. Culture and art were born from the spirit to seek an existence of dignity, humanity, and bring flowers of happiness to bloom, even amid a reality filled with unending problems and suffering. A world without culture would be dull indeed. Brimming with the greatest of all joys through chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, let us together create the beautiful art of peace. Departing in the spirit of gratitude for our presence this evening and our renewed hope for increasing unity and social justice, please join me in chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo 3 times. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you again for your support for this evening's event. Please travel safely.
As is recorded in the New Testament, in the book and the letter of Jude, it is in the 24th and 25th verses. Now unto him that is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise God, our Savior, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and ever. Amen.
Just a few slokas from our ancient scripture. These are ancient as well as universal. I'm going to Sanskrit first and then respond in English translation. Tameva vata pita tameva, tameva bandhusya sakha tameva, tameva vidya dravyam tameva, tameva sarvam mamadeva deva, Soma Sattvayo, Tamasoma Jyotirvamayo, Mrityurma Mritangamaya, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, Sama Bhavatu सहमगुणतु सहवीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै शांति शांति शांति. You are my father and my mother, my friend and my protector. You are wise and powerful. You are my everything, O Lord, my lords. From the unreal guide me to the real, from darkness guide me to the light, from death lead me to immortality. Let peace be within, without and all around. May He protect us, may He nourish us, may we work together and learn purpose. May we never quarrel, may we be blessed with peace, peace and perfect peace.
In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Our Muslim community is one of the most racially and ethnically diverse communities. It includes whites of European descent, blacks of African descent, as well as Arabs, Asians, Hispanics, immigrants, and the native born. Setting all other labels aside, as Americans, we should celebrate what Martin Luther King Jr. did for our country by our words and actions. We must acknowledge his vision of a better future for everyone, not just one race, and therefore must not sell him short just because he was Christian or black, or anything else which you are not able. Everyone must understand that his speech wasn't exclusive to African Americans. In fact, it encompassed all Americans and all human beings. As American Muslims face the challenge of rising anti-Islam sentiment in American society, we must all benefit and learn from the example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has set for us and practice how to overcome ignorance, injustice, and hate with knowledge, peace, and tolerance. As American Muslims, we should continue carrying and promoting the principles and lessons set forth by Dr. King, which you might be surprised to know they also coincide with many of the teachings in our Holy Quran as well. Our strength as a nation comes from our diversity, and our diversity can only be strengthened by increasing our understanding of each other and working together to attain justice in the most difficult times. This is what Dr. King has taught us, and this is the message we will continue to spread. May our gracious Creator help all of us to achieve that goal. Amen.
Chapter 16 of the book of Deuteronomy, we read, Sedek, Sedek, Tirdoth, justice, justice you shall pursue, that you may live and possess the land which the eternal your God is giving you. In Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 15 and 16 and 19 and 20, we read, See, I set before you this day life and prosperity, death and adversity. For I command you this day to love the eternal your God, and to walk in God's ways, to keep God's commandments, God's laws, God's rules, that you may thrive and increase, that the eternal your God may bless you in the land that you are about to enter and possess. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have put before you life and death, blessing and curse. The heart of Hahim, choose life, if you and your offspring would live, by loving the eternal your God, heeding God's commandments, and holding fast to God. For thereby you shall have life, and shall long endure upon the soul that the eternal your God swore to your ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give to them. I conclude with the words of Psalm 133. Behold how good and how pleasant it is when brothers and sisters live together in unity.
I will ask you guys to stand, but I want to pray for Martin Luther King because it still matters. If you could please stand up and hold your hands, I want to pray
for what He has led us to. एक ओंकार वार्षिक भगवती पातशाही दसवीं प्रथम भगवती सिमरते श्री गुरु नानक लेके आए फिर गुरु अंगद ते अमरदास रामदास से होई सहाय अर्जुन हर गोविंद नाम सिमरो श्री थकाए श्री कृष्ण जी के आए जिससे थे सब दुख जाए तेग बहादुर सिंह करनो दे आवे ताए सब थाई होना की सहाय दसवें पातशाह श्री गुरु गोविंद सिंह सहाय सब थाई होना की सहाय दसवें पातशाह हैं कि आत्मजोत श्री गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब की पाठ की दादर के अंतर के खालसा साहब बोलो जी वाहिगुरू हे सच्चे पिता वाहिगुरू आप ते हजूर अरदास बेनती है कि मार्टिन लूथर किंग ने जो कार्य चलाए सी ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੂਰਨੇ ਪਾਓ ਉਹ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਤ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਬਾਣੇ ਸਰਬੱਤ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ you could sit down next thank you this is basically saying we pray for Martin Luther King's ideology and his exposure it still matters I pray for this legacy to continue and to give us proper guidance and in the end I shared with you with the Sikh scripture. Sikh scripture says, Nanak Naam Chaddi Kala Tere Bani Sarbat Ka Bala means everybody, it is this world, we want equality and peace in this world. So we are going through tough times, we have to pray for peace for everyone. Thank you.
When we can truly celebrate the diversity of contributions and talents offered by all people, we shall overcome hatred and prejudice and oppression. When we can truly extend our hands to one another in loving acceptance, we shall overcome the past that haunts us now. Living in peace and freedom, we shall overcome the wrongs that have happened and the debts left unpaid. Let us join together in that commitment to overcome. Until we meet again, blessed be, let us say together, Amen.